So the abbreviated version of what I don't like about Third Strike is that well, I wrote a book about fighting games and specifically teaches the fundamentals of Street Fighter using Ryu. The thinking is basically that Ryu is like in the middle of the game that has pretty much defined the genre of 2D fighting games. I'm not even paying attention to this game at this point. Fuck it. I'm just going to autopilot because this is that important. So the reason I taught Ryu is I figured if you can learn Ryu, and if I can teach you how to play a functional Ryu in Super Turbo or whatever the fuck, you have the fundamental knowledge to at least learn where to start with any other fighting game. Because every other fighting game it can be thought of as just Ryu, but with this, or Ryu with that. And the things that define that character, chief among them are the Fireball and the Dragon Punch. The Fireball is something which looks forward in time, and basically you trade the time of its startup to control horizontal space in a manner that cannot be contested except by jumping, basically, right? And with the Dragon Punch is the inversion, right? Unlike the Fireball, there's very little startup time, right? It's active and it's invincible pretty much instantly. And you're traveling up forward, so you're controlling that space instead of the Fireball, right? So you have these two moves that are defined by their inversion in time and space. And together, they do some really cool shit, right? It's what makes Ryu mirror matches or Shoto mirror matches so much fun, right? Third Strike, Street Fighter 3 in general, but Third Strike in particular, takes those two things and says, hey, if you press forward once, then you don't have to deal about any of that shit. It doesn't matter. Jump whenever you want. Walk forward right into a Fireball. It's okay. Matter of fact, the person who did that to you, they're going to be fucked now. It's fucking trash. That's why I don't like Third Strike. Not because it's a bad fighting game. It's not a bad fighting game. But because they did what they did to Dragon Punches and Fireballs, they basically shat on the Street Fighter-ness of it. Now, some people came into Third Strike, and that was how they learned Street Fighter, and so their understanding of what a core Street Fighter game is much different from mine. But for me, I look at everything I love in Street Fighter specifically, and I'm like, holy shit, this thing that I love, Third Strike doesn't have it. Why would I play this game? Specifically, it's the way that parries murder Dragon Punches and Fireballs. It collapses a lot of the stuff that used to be really interesting space control and kind of just subjects you to a test of whether you pressed down or forward before you were about to do the thing that you were already going to do. So parries make it suck. The fact that parries make it are option selectable make it even worse. That isn't to say that there isn't interesting mind games and like fucking Yomi and all this crazy shit. In Third Strike, that makes it so that two people can have a great time. I've played fucking, at this point, probably hundreds of hours of Third Strike. Like, I know people can have a good time playing that game. It just does, it isn't the kind of fighting game that I want from a Street Fighter game. Doesn't Street Fighter 4 do the same thing? No. It does some different things, and I can't stand Street Fighter 4. Like, Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 4 are not that far away in my mind. But Street Fighter 4, very importantly, does a couple things that are different from Third Strike. One is, you have to pay a cost for going through a Fireball by armoring through it, right? So you can't just easily focus attack through stuff nearly as much. Fireballs are still useful as space control tools in Street Fighter 4. They're just not as good as they are in ST, and in ST, honestly, they're way too good. So Street Fighter 4 does a lot of stuff to make the Fireball worse, and I don't like it, but I understand why they did it. Like, people aren't trying to play the same game in 2009 to 2013 or whatever than they were before. So if making Fireballs a little worse is what it takes to get people in that game, that's fine. Yes, Dragon Punches being invulnerable is pretty important. Like, using Dragon Punches as an anti-air is fine, Using Dragon Punches as an anti-poke because you did it in advance or because you reacted to something because you're a fucking god, that's a huge part of having fun playing a Shoto, is being able to turn those small but bold reads into actual, like, gameplay advantage. And because Dragon Punches aren't invincible and you pay such a cost through the crush counter status if you fuck up a Dragon Punch, it's just the risk reward on fireballs and Dragon Punches in Street Fighter V is ass, and that's kind of why I don't like playing it. That's one of the many reasons why I don't like playing that game. So now that my rant is over, it will be my turn soon, and I can actually focus on playing Cam.